Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 53. I feel like these episodes are just flying out now. I am being so organised. This is the third episode I have edited this week. I am considering increasing my release schedule, but we'll see how we go. Before we dive into the episode, I want to read out a review that I got that really made me laugh. The title of the review is Hippocratic Oath of Smart Goals. And this is what the review says. Hi, Rosie. Congratulations on 50 podcast episodes. It's been a goal you set out and achieved. It's been awesome to hear the stories of your many connections. I just wanted to highlight that as a previous postgraduate student of yours, I'm pretty sure I can recall some content taught or supported by you running through SMART goals in one of our early subjects. Either way, we can both be smart and realise how, as an overachiever, it's really unhelpful to follow this model. Cheers, and looking forward to the next 50. Well, thank you, Grant, for calling me out on my bullcrap. For context, I used to lecture at a university. I was subject coordinator, and Grant took one of these subjects, not when I was teaching it, but some of my content was still in there. And guess what? I encouraged students to use SMART goals. Ew. What a fucking hypocrite. I hate that shit. Grant called me out on it. And guess what? He only bloody gave me 4 stars. But at least he is honest. He wrote it with integrity. And if you're still feeling a little bit lost, go back and listen to episode 50, because in there I have a bit of a rant about goal setting and how SMART goals are just a pile of crap. If you don't know what SMART goals are, don't bother Googling them. They're shit. Don't ever use them. So please, if you haven't already, give me a rating and review. Go to thepursuitoffreedom.com.au/reviews. That's the easiest way you can do it. And also, make sure you're following the podcast, because less than 10% of you are following. Outrageous. All right, let's roll the intro. G'day, and welcome to the Pursuit of Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Rosie Burrows, and I'm on a journey to find my freedom so that I can help you do exactly the same. Join me each week as I share the stories of everyday people who have found their own paths to freedom. I'm not going to focus on job titles and accolades, because I don't care about that stuff, and neither should you. I want to uncover what truly makes you tick. Who are you when you step away from society's expectations and follow your heart? I still haven't figured it out yet. Have you? Either way, buckle up, because it's going to be one hell of a ride. Welcome to the Pursuit of Freedom podcast. It's an overcast and rainy day here in Perth. I am stuck in a caravan park while I wait for my van to be prepared, but I'm very excited to talk to Amy Shea today. It's going to be a good one. I'm not going to give a rundown of who you are and what you do. I sometimes start with that, but I kind of want to dive into who are you? And let's go back. Just a small question, right? To maybe you as a child, and what were you like back then, and then bring us to the present day, because you're a pretty cool person.
Oh, thank you, Rosie. Yes, hello, everybody. Who am I? Wow. I think I've been pretty consistent in my life, from being a little girl, having that need for freedom, having that need for physicality, having that need to really shine and laugh and be authentic, and really having that need to not be fit into a box, right?
Right, yeah.
Luckily, I grew up in, 70s. So we were pretty free range. We were out and about. And as a kid, we didn't do dresses and all that very often. My mom didn't really make us do many things like that. And we went to many alternative schools. So we did not have a traditional education as young people. Mm-hmm. I felt really free on many levels. I had sisters who we were, my middle sister and I were like two gay, we were always together. And so I really felt that sense of freedom. I was a dancer, athlete, gymnast, anything physical. I was into it, man. I was like, yes, yes, yes. And And that was all good for, a long while until, you get older. Then all of a sudden, those gifts that you have in that realm of the physicality of being a dancer and artist in that manner, all of a sudden were a waste of time. But then the suppression came of, people trying to suppress me. And so I would say, because the way I grew up also in a family that was, there was a lot of yelling, and there was a lot of tension and yelling and unhappiness within the family, parents, and so I would just, close my door. I didn't speak up. It was very emotional, very difficult for me to use my voice.
Right.
Much easier for me to use my body in the expression of self. But when I was really stifled with my voice. And so I would say I'm shy, right? I'm shy. That I put that on me, which really I wasn't at all. I mean, I don't know. It's like, but when you don't, when you're afraid to speak up because of retaliation or suppression, you stay quiet. I did. My sisters did things differently, but I stayed quiet. I just shut the door and did my own thing. I would say that little girl who she was back then is still, I really made an effort to come back to her. When I became married at 32, I realized this is not right. That's when I got into meditation and women's group and figure out what the heck is going on with me. And so from that time on, I really worked on releasing all the suppression, releasing all these stories, releasing all this, what other people put on me. And so that came to me in a meditation when I saw my little girl. And I was like, I saw her in an open field. My teacher says, now there's a gift in your heart. I saw her. The gift came. I saw her in an open field. And I was like, oh my God, that is me. That is really who I am. Not who I am right now, but I was like, I want that. How do I get that?
Yeah.
That's me. I was like, oh my God, I want that. And so from that moment on, I really stuck to that idea of getting that little person back, getting that freedom, getting that, sense of openness, that sense of humor, that ability to be brave, and that ability to be like just so willing. And I worked many, many years to get her back.
Why do you think, I'm not sure if strayed is the right word, but I'll use it. Why do you think over time you strayed from that little girl version of yourself? I think it happens to a lot of us, but I'm curious why you think that happens.
I fought very hard to be myself. I've fought very hard to continue dancing, to, I got a job to pay for my lessons. I fought very hard to continue that, And I used to say as a kid, as a 19-year-old, when I quit, at 18, 19, all that, I quit for like 5 years of dance. I didn't dance for 5 years. And I just said, I got tired of the fight. I think we get tired of the fight, and we acquiesce our dreams and on who we truly are, because we're just tired. I mean, I remember just being tired and saying it, describing it as someone who was, 18 years old.
Wow. Yeah, that really resonates with me. Tired of the fight. That hits deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And I remember when we first chatted, you were saying, you've never worked the 9 to 5, never played by the rules, and you called yourself a radiant rebel. Can you tell us what you mean by that? I love the sound of it, but I want to know your take.
As a young kid, I was a rebel, meaning, I shut the door. I mean, we were out. I mean, my sister and I were out at the clubs. Like 13 to for
Wow. Yeah.
all I wanted to do was dance. I mean, all of us girls would, 6 of us would go to the clubs together and just dance. I would dance at the clubs. I was dancing at school. I would dance after school. And so, I always considered myself like this, and as my parents were telling me, you need to go to college, you need to do this, this, this. And I was like, I ain't doing that. I don't have to discuss it with you, but I'm not doing that. I think that rebel oftentimes is the 80s had a negative connotation to it, punk rocker, all that stuff, right? And it had a lot of emotional upset around the rebelling because I was unhappy, because I wasn't being supported with my dreams, and because I was looking for any way to get out so I could be me, right? So I would figure out who I was. And, it was interesting because I'm a very talented, beautiful dancer, right? And I would walk out into the world and receive that information. And I would walk into the house and receive something else. Right. And that to me, I wanted to be out because I was getting recognized for who I actually was in the dance studio or with my friends or, out and about. And so I think back then it had some emotional turmoil around the rebel. Now, being a radiant rebel is something different.
Yeah.
It's an empowered place of joy, of openness, of freedom, of these core values that I took and I cultivated in myself once I saw my little girl in that meditation. That's my main thing, to be radiant and to be a rebel and to live outside the box. Please don't put me in a box. I'm just not going to go.
Yeah.
Like, I just won't go. So you're wasting your time.
Yeah. I love that.
And I don't feel bad about it. And I don't have to be upset about it. And I don't have to be mean about it. I could be actually quite radiant about it.
I love that. I'm sure some of our listeners are going, this sounds amazing, but how did you make that transition from rebel to radiant rebel? How did that happen?
As I said, I started learning about myself, about the patriarchy, about why I have these things that I do or think about. And also I reconciled a lot of my relationship with my parents, right? So I did a healing process in my 30s. I met the love of my life. We were building a life together, and all of a sudden he goes to the doctor, and 6 weeks later he's gone, he's dead, right? So I went to ground zero. I started from nothing. That was a very traumatizing time for me because we had our whole, there was no time for processing. No, we were just 6 weeks later. That's it, right? And so, when you have the person of your dreams and your future's going forward and you're looking ahead and living present, because we also had a family going on there. And so that being taken away so quickly, it really brought me down to having PTSD, to a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. I didn't want to leave my home. I had to really look to myself and create new ways of navigating this life because I was in extreme fear. I had a lot of fear and grief and, the whole shebang. And so I think starting from that point into really cultivating and understanding myself and overcoming the fear, overcoming the anxiety, recognizing what was happening to me at the time, really being honest with myself and actually giving up this idea of being perfect and having it all correct. Because as you know, if something like that happens to you, you know that you only have today to live.
Right.
That's a big lesson. And so that's where the radiance came from, because I decided that I get to really build, really create a life that I love and create a self that I really love, and who takes, we say shit on here, no.
Yeah, swear
Take
as much
shit
as you
on,
like.
right? Take shit on and actually follow through, and to really create something that I love, right? So it's now, isn't that a beautiful thing?
It is.
And yet it doesn't, it comes to you, it came to me as it came to me, step by step,
Yeah.
So I appreciate life. I have a lot of value for life, value for myself. And this idea that, I overcame something, and it's, and I created a new way of being. I created a new self.
I really resonate with that. And something that plays on my mind that I'd love your take on, because I lost both my parents relatively young, dad in a freak accident and mum relatively quickly. So that kind of accelerated my journey to, I'll use your word, of a radiant rebel, right? And I wonder, is an awful event like that a necessary part of getting to the place of radiant rebel? Or do you think it's just something that speeds up the process?
Well, I think that, I think you can get there without that much trauma.
Yeah, that would have been nice, right?
But there's something to say about the experience of loss. There's we can't be afraid of it. We have to know we have to embrace it. And it is a coming of self. Loss becomes an evolution of self, because you start to question everything. And
Right.
oftentimes you realize that the things that you're holding on to really are not that important. And that is where I always say this is where you meet yourself in loss. You meet yourself in following your passions. There are times in your life where you actually meet yourself. And so there's something to say about the experience. But I think whenever you could still get there, you can be that radiant rebel, but you have to participate. You have to you can't do it from afar. You can't be like, wow. You have to really get involved. Like, you got to jump in and participate, whether it's dating, whether it's starting your business and following through on it, whether it's finding new friends, whether it's like recreating your life. You have to participate,
Yeah.
and this is where you meet yourself, through the participation.
I haven't heard it put that way before, but it's so true. And I often see people struggle with this concept of participation. They know they need to do that, but it's just so scary. Do you have any advice for people who are perhaps feeling stuck in that in-between as to how they get the courage or the bravery to just start participating?
So, interesting enough, is the participation part often has to do with self-doubt.
Ooh, yeah.
Now, in self-doubt, I have a quiz and all that about, what type of self-doubter you are. I'm a hider and hesitator.
Okay.
And there's hypercritical and helplessness. There's those four. So what happens is, we want to do something. We have the desire to do something, but our self-doubt keeps us from participating.
Yeah.
And so we become I was a big hider and hesitator.
Mm-hmm.
The hider would say, "Oh, I'm shy, right? Therefore, I can't blah, blah, blah." Right? The hesitator would be like, "I'll do it next week."
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be right now. Right? If you were hypercritical in your self-doubt, it might sound like, no one's going to like me anyways. I'm going to get rejected. Or it could be, they're not going to like me. It's just going to be horrible. The party's going to be bad. The helplessness person oftentimes will just say, cower in the corner and be like, I just can't. I'm not capable.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put myself out there. It's just too hard. It's too scary. So they might say stuff like that. The hider and hesitator would not say that. They'd just be like, I'm shy, or, the hesitator, oh, it's just not the right time.
That's a common one. Yeah, that's very common.
But these are all self-doubt, right? And so these are all things that we all have, some of them, right? But I was a big hider and hesitator. The transformational thing is me understanding that I'm a hider and a hesitator.
Yeah.
That's where the transformation comes from. Because sometimes I'll get that email, I'll just do it tomorrow. Then Amy, you do it now. Okay? Tomorrow is a no-no. It's now. Okay? Because it's not about anything other than your self-doubt and your habit of hesitating. These are all just habits that we do. So, the radio rebel really understands herself or themselves. This is part of it also. You are very curious about why you're making certain decisions or why you're not following through. And so I'm a big idea person. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, let's do this. And then we're going to do this. And then we do this and this and this. And then do nothing.
You sure you're not talking about me?
It's a lot of us.
Yeah.
But it's really about self-doubt.
Yeah. I have never heard it framed in that way. I often hear people talk about fear, which I think is related to self-doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? But I've never heard it framed as this concept of self-doubt. And I love, you've broken it down into those, is it 4? 5? 4 different, yeah. So how did you figure out where you fit in that cycle? And I would love to figure out what my dominant ones are, because I think it would really help me understand some of my behaviors.
I have a quiz that you could take.
Yeah.
It's just like a simple, remedial quiz.
Yeah.
And then it gives you a look into your behavior around things.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I much rather say to myself, oh, I'm a hider and hesitator. That's why I did that. Instead of, I'm a bad person. I never follow through, or I'm not good enough, or whatever you say to yourself. It's easier to say, hey, I'm a hider and hesitator, right? And so these are the steps that we must go through to finally let go of the judgment. So this is part of the quiz, right? The quiz tells you what your dominant is, right? And then you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. Or something happens. Oh, I'm just being hypercritical right now. I'm in self-doubt. Instead of, I'm such a bad person, or they're bad, or whatever. So that's part of what I do, is really, we have to be free, right? So when I saw my little girl, I saw her as free. I saw her as open. I saw her as willing, right? So if I am not embodying those and feeling those, I have to look at, why am I not feeling those? Why am I not feeling that way? Maybe because I'm afraid, right? And then what am I telling myself? But the ultimate goal is to get back to that little girl, to really release all these things.
Yeah. It sounds so transformational. It really does. And I wonder, because we haven't shared this yet on the podcast, well, you mentioned you're a beautiful dancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were signed with a dancing agent. I think it was recently. You told me
Mm-hmm.
at age 55. And I think a lot of people would have given up before that. Oh, I'm too old. That's just unrealistic. What am I thinking? So, can't do that. So was part of getting there to do with becoming aware of self-doubt and working through that and returning to the little girl? Or how did that journey unfold?
Interesting enough, when I was younger, I was so hard on myself as a dancer. I was very hypercritical of self. That's a self doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I hesitated and I hid, and maybe some helplessness there too, actually, like blaming others, right? Blaming others. So it's like I was fully in self doubt in this position of being a highly technical, highly, just this beautiful dancer. It's like I was at a high level with thoughts of self doubt.
Right.
And the self doubt won. Over and over, it won. So basically, what happened was I just cultivated my career as an educator, coach, dancer, teacher, right?
Right.
And which I love, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I love the path that I took. And because I took that path, I do believe my body is in such a way that it's still healthy. Oftentimes you get into these dance jobs and they ruin your body. But anyhow, I was riddled with self-doubt, even though I had a lot of talent, and a lot of artists go have this. A lot of entrepreneurs have this. They have a great idea. They're great coaches. They're great entrepreneurs in this sense that they want to create something, but they have a lot of self-doubt. They have a lot of hesitation. They're hiding. They're hypercritical of everything they put out. They give up easily, and think of it's about them. So you can be very good at what you do and still fail because of this self-doubt. And either you're hiding, you're hesitating, you're helpless, or you're hypercritical.
I love how you have such confidence in talking about your talent and what a good dancer you are, because I'm not sure if it's similar where you are, but in Australia, it's sort of, you can't celebrate yourself
I
and your
know.
achievements and how good you can't. Oh, you're just full of yourself. But I think it's so important to acknowledge our gifts and the hard work we put in and our strengths. So how did you get to that place of feeling comfortable talking about yourself in that way? Or is this just something you had from the beginning?
Oh, no. I mean, dancers, before you go on stage, you're like mirrored. You're basically just saying shit before you go on
Right.
stage.
Yeah.
That's your like, good luck. So dancers are famous for their self-doubt, for their being critical, for their need for perfection. It's like wearing a suit of armor. It's like having this suppression on your chest, right? So there's something between my body and the outside world, and it sits right here, right? And you walk off stage or you're dancing, and it's there. And it's over your heart and over your, your solar plexus, and it's like protecting you.
Mm.
And there's this armor in front of you. The problem is you get off stage and you are remembering all the mistakes as people are walking towards you, telling what a beautiful job you did. Right? You're so beautiful. It was great. Oh my God, da da da. And you've got this thing right here, and your chest's covering your heart and your solar plexus, and it's not penetrating. You're not feeling it. You're only feeling the failure. You're only feeling the failure. And when people tell you you did a beautiful job, it doesn't even hit your heart. It doesn't even register in your body. You hear the words. That's it.
Yeah.
And you don't embody them, you don't believe them, and you don't take them in. And this happens whether, maybe you get off and do from a speech, or maybe, you are teaching someone something, or maybe you're doing a performance, maybe something at work, and you walk away focused on what didn't happen. That armor is on your chest, and you feel nothing. And so that is all self-doubt. That is perfection. That is a lot of the wounds about what, around your dancing. You don't want to come out. Like me, I didn't want to open my heart because it had been hurt so many times around dance. I wanted to protect it. So I would put this protection around me, whether it's good or bad, the comments, no one could penetrate me, right? So this is where we get to really release our heart, open up our solar plexus, and allow for the energy of love, the energy of being proud, the energy of being confident to come in and actually look at someone in the eyes and say thank you, and actually feel it. Right? And no, it's not promoted here in the United States. But once you do it, once you have released all these negativity, this idea of you having to be perfect, of these self-doubt, of something that, you got to heal a lot of your wounds, which I did. And I'm radiant. I walk in that dance studio, I have such a good time.
Yeah.
When I teach, I have a great time. My goal is to really take my energy and allow it to infiltrate the whole room. And, allow people to see what it looks like when you are not in pain, when you're not in judgment, when you're not in being hypercritical or helpless, but you are in the experience, you are participating, and you're loving it.
Why do you think we default to that negativity? And, if we think of the different types of self-doubt, the hider, the resistor, being hypercritical, the feelings of helplessness, why do we tend to default to that? Do you think it is learnt behavior through conditioning? Or is this just who humans are?
Oh, it's all conditioning.
Yeah.
It's all conditioning. And it's a shame. Because, little souls are being squashed.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Especially the creatives, because creatives aren't valued in society too much. And so the creatives really get squashed. But it's all learned. It's all learned. I mean, I danced with people who had, their idea of who they were and what they were doing was like so much better than my idea about who I was and what I was doing. And
Right.
they had half of the talent that I had. But my mindset and their mindset was totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we saw a lot of that in the arts. And you see it in a lot of art. You see it everywhere where you're like, I'm better than him. Why is he have like that? Because he thinks he's that good. He knows he's that good, right? He has a mindset for it. And he participates, so he doesn't hesitate and hide. He's not hypercritical, and he's not helpless. He's in it. How great he is. How wonderful he is, right? So he's in it. She's in it.
Yeah.
And they're getting the jobs.
Right. And what a way to live. It feels so much better than being drowned in the self-doubt. Obviously, this takes hard work and it's not a one and done. But do you have any strategies that listeners could perhaps give a go to start on their journey to overcoming this self-doubt and just embracing how wonderful they are?
Yeah, so thank God it's not one and done, because as a creator, I mean, what would be next, right?
Right, yeah.
So you have to first, one of my big mindsets shift is that I'm a creator, right? We must know that we are the creators. That means we get to create what we want to create.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And we can't blame others. I can't blame them. I'm only left to me because I create my own life. I'm responsible for my life. There's no finger pointing anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
There's no blame anywhere. It's all me. And I am very, we have to give up, especially women, have to give up this fairy tale that someone's going to save us or help us or do anything for us. And what a disservice to self. Because this is our life. We get to create. We get to decide. And so there's all kinds of things you can do. For me, I wake up and I realize I've ingrained in what I say to myself is I'm the creator. I create. And the only person getting in my way is me. That's the only person that's getting in my way. And oftentimes we find ourselves in these relationships where, we are very unhappy. And I was in that marriage. I was in that marriage for 3 years of being unhappy. But what I did right away, I said, something's wrong. And I got help. I started going into a meditation group. And every Monday I would go to that group. Every Monday, like clockwork, for 3 years, until I got up the guts. I got ready to leave them, and I left in like 3 days. I'm like, I'm out of here, dude. Packed up my stuff and left. But, we're in those types of relationships and think there's nothing we can do, right?
Right, yeah.
I have no choice. That's the helplessness. But the fact of the matter is that all I did was go every Monday to this class. And I worked on myself. It was like $16 a class. I went every Monday, and I just would go there, be with the women, meditation, have my mentor, and she helped me through so much. And that's really, it can just be that easy.
Right. I think a lot of us really struggle with this concept of we are the creators and we get to create what we want. we are responsible for our own life. That's tough for people because it's so easy to blame the external factors. And it's not to say that things external to you in your environment aren't relevant, but I 100% agree with you. We are the ones getting in our way, and we have a choice. We are choosing to stay in our current situation. That's a tough pill to swallow. So, how do we take accountability and accept, actually, this is on me? I have the power, I have the ability to change my situation. How do you change that mindset? Because I see a lot of people around me, they're not in that mindset. They feel helpless and they are convinced it is their truth. It is true to them that they can't get out of their current situation.
Yeah, as a creator, any truth can be true. Whatever I choose to believe is going to be true.
Right. Yeah.
That's how our brain works. Okay. You have to take this idea that your brain is something that is more mechanical than personal. Your brain is not you, right? It's something that I'm in a situation, I have a choice. I could think, go towards the light and think it's this way, or I can go towards the dark and think of that way. Now, if I choose to think of the light and think that's true, it will be true. If I choose to go the dark and think that's true, it will be true.
Right.
Right? It was true that I was in an unhappy marriage.
Yeah.
That was a true statement for me. I'm not denying that. But my actions, understanding like, I don't think I want to be unhappy. I think was my thought. Or why am I acting like this? This is not who I am. This is weird, right? This is not really what I do. So I was like, I just need to go get help. And I just got enrolled. Now I could have said, I'm fine. It's him. It's him.
Yeah.
I was like, no, something's wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I don't like myself saying these things or thinking these things or acting this way. I did not like myself. And I was like, oh, there's something wrong with me and my reaction to this. I need to figure this out. Right. And so I took responsibility in that marriage for myself. I didn't try to change him, put it that way.
Right. That rarely works.
Yes.
In fact, I don't think it ever does, really. Yeah.
I didn't try to change him. What I did was I focused on me and figuring out what's going on with me. This was back in 2001.
Right.
So this was a long time ago. I didn't have any inkling of coaching or meditation, or I grew up an atheist, so I had no religion, no spirituality. I walked into this meditation class and I don't know what the hell was going on. She's a channel. So she was channeling. I was like, I don't know what this is.
That would have been confronting for you. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but I like it. I was like, oh,
yeah.
This is good. This sounds like what I've been going through. Right? And she was channeling her teachers about women, about patriarchy, about suppression, about breaking free, all these things. I was like, I want that. Like, this is exciting for me. And I went every Monday, and that's kind of, I've been meditating since then, but that's how it started. And I think that I could have gone a different way.
Yeah, definitely.
We all could go a different way.
Yes.
Oftentimes, we're afraid to participate. We're afraid to change because things will be different. And I'm going to tell you, yes, that's very true. Things will be different.
Yeah. Change is scary.
Change is inevitable.
Oh, yeah. So true. So why do we think we can avoid it, right?
Well, we've been trained. We've been
Yeah.
trained to go along.
We really have. And if we go back to what you were saying about, we can choose to go towards the light or the darkness, I think there's going to be some cynics listening to this who go, oh, what a load of rubbish. That's just toxic positivity. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I don't believe in being positive. I don't believe in positivity. I believe in looking back on your life, looking at your accomplishments, finding the values that you express to accomplish it. Who are you being? Those are your values. And to embody those values and hold them as true. I am strong. I am resourceful. I am able. I mean, look at me. I mean, at 43, I went back to college. At 46, I got my BA. I am smart. I don't disregard that accomplishment. Oh, it's nothing.
Right.
That has nothing to do with positivity. That is like, I kicked ass. Okay. I got 3.875 GPA.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Right? It's owning it. I don't believe in like weird positivity stuff. I believe in looking at your accomplishments, looking at what you're capable of, finding out what it took to get there, and embodying those values, knowing it wasn't a fluke. You participated, you accomplished it. So you get to decide your next steps. It's all about empowerment. It's all about understanding how beautiful you are, how powerful you are, how capable you are. When you look back on your life, what have you accomplished? That means something. When you decide to draw on it, that's where the value comes from in me. There's nothing, I'm not positive. I won't, what's that called? Bright side you. Don't bright side me. But like, I've gone through a lot. I've earned it. I've earned everything that I have sitting here with you today. I fought for it. I earned it. I explored it. I was curious. I was open and I was willing. And I own it. Right? And so it's not the naysayers, it's not about positivity. It's about embodying who you really are.
Yeah. And I want to know, well, I know, the audience doesn't know. And this is kind of one of the more boring questions, but I still think it's important. What do you do with your day to day? Dancing is obviously a huge part of who you are and what you do. What else is there?
What do I do? Well, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm a speaker. I'm a speaker. I'm a coach. I have a live show every month. I have the business end. I love to do my websites and all that. I'm a techie person. I also, I'm an academic life tutor, coach.
Wow.
For high schoolers. What else I'm a math and science tutor also. And I think I'm forgetting something.
But it's so diverse, and it really sounds like you're truly embracing who you are. You said earlier, don't you dare try to put me in a box, right? You're not going in a box. And it does not sound like you're anywhere near that box.
No, I love life to be different every day. I like to, like I woke up yesterday, I took the day off. Today, I woke up, did some stuff on the computer, went and made a soup, a celery potato soup, went and taught dance, came back here, worked a little bit more on the computer, got on the call with you, Rosie, and then I'll be, once this is done, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
So I have never, I'm a creative person. I'm a photographer, stuff like that. It's like, I'm sure I can go on and on, but I mean, I don't really remember.
I love it so much. I just love it. Anything else just sounds boring, and we're raised to believe that we have to have that one career and you got to choose your specialization, and that's the way it is. But you're living proof that is not the way it is.
Well, as a dancer, educator, if I didn't do my other things, everything I do outside of that only enhances my creativity because I'm not on the one track mind. So, like, even with my dancing and my coaching, right? I got these two. They're similar in many ways because for many years, I wouldn't say I'm a teacher. I'm more of a coach in
Right.
dance. I
Yeah.
became that. I came out of teaching into a coach around dance. And then, as a coach myself and a speaker and all that, I created the radical embodiment method. So I created a
Right.
method based off of my dancing, my coaching, my meditation, and my performance, my acting, and all that, and my dance, right? So this idea of having these things that I do and melding them into creating a process. Now, to me, I'm obsessed with it. Like, I'm like, oh, I like this, right? I really got this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do the, and then the hider and hesitator might pop its head, just, yeah, hide and hesitate a little bit and come out again and like, hey, this is where it's at, right? So I think that if I don't know what my life would have been like if I did the one track. I did it for many years with dance. It was my one track.
Right.
I did it for a year and I was obsessed with my dance. I mean, I loved it. I mean, that's my biggest love in life is dance. Still is. I love it. There's nothing like it. And that's been my one consistent great love through my life.
That's beautiful. Now, one question I like to ask every guest on this podcast, and I can't wait to hear your answer to this. I know it's going to be good, is what does freedom mean to you?
Oh, freedom is everything. It's, to me, a lot of my freedom is in the physical sense, meaning when I'm dancing, that level of spirituality, spirit, hooking up to spirit and having that freedom in that movement without perfection or judgment is, I can't even tell you what it's like. It's like, it's the top of the top of feelings. When I don't like to put constrictions around my expression or my creativity. So, like, even if I choreograph, like Friday, I taught, right? I downloaded some music on Friday morning. I was like, okay, cool. Driving. I was like, let me just listen to the song, go into class, choreograph off the spot. No,
Wow.
not even knowing the song that well, not having nothing ready as far as steps, but that level of willingness to open chakra crown, let Mother God in, and let the creative process is start and just go with it without any constriction is pure freedom. And so if we approach life in that way, hook up to Mother God, no, not have any constrictions on anyone else, allow it to be what it's going to be, freedom. Make that web page, allow it to just like come to fruition, however design, put it out there. Freedom. Freedom to me means there's no suppression.
Yeah.
And to me, that is a huge gift because I was suppressed for many years, right?
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
about 32 years, there was that suppression. Actually, 30, 35 years or something like that, somewhere in there. That suppression, and to release, just go through this gradual evolution of releasing that. And who I am here today, you will see me out there. You see the same person.
Yeah.
Freedom,
Yeah.
right? Allowing that love, know that you're totally loved all the time, no matter what. Freedom. So that's what it means to me. I think it's better said that way. Examples of what it looks like.
Yes. Yes.
It's a take me or leave me. I don't care. No one is going to tell me what to do, who to be, how to say it. I'm here. I'm participating. I'm present. Now what? What's going to happen?
Right. How exciting.
I know. Rosie, I never know what's going to come out of my mouth, but usually it's okay. It's like you're just kind of like you're in it. Nothing prepared.
Yeah.
I'm not a preparer.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I love it. I mean, freedom isn't, I couldn't possibly define it in a single sentence, right? And I loved listening to all the different examples you came up with. And one you kind of ended with was take me or leave me, right? I love that. This is who I am. Amy, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and there's just so much. I really look forward to listening back to it when I do a brief edit, because I know I'll pick up on so much more. You've got so many gifts to share and so much wisdom, and I am in awe, and I really respect and look up to the way that you're living your life. I think it's amazing, and it sounds invigorating and so exciting. And I think that's the way of life I would love more of us to embrace, because it's possible.
It's possible. And also, you are embracing, it's not, it's also understand that you are living in the human condition, and life goes up and down. It's not about that. It's about who are you being in those lows, and who are you being in those highs, and who are you being in the middle. Now, I prefer to be in the middle, right?
Yeah.
I prefer to be in the middle. But it's not like some positivity or fairy tale. It's more like this understanding that you've been through enough to understand your strengths. You have built, this idea of love and openness around you, and you understand that this life is here to be lived, and that's where the adventure is. So you kind of like, okay, this is really my opportunity. I mean, last year was a shit year, but who I was being through it, I was very impressed with myself. Because oftentimes when I was a long time ago, I'd go into like shut down, watching Netflix, and feeling helpless, right? Instead of like, well, just laughing about just, okay, it's here. I mean, it's like, it's not stopping. I keep getting hit over and over, right? But finding my way through that and being like, this is not about me being a bad person. This is just life.
Yeah. Yeah. This is life. Amy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So generous with your time and your wisdom, and I can't wait to hear our listeners' feedback, because I know they would have got so much from this conversation. I know I have. Okay. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Can I ask you a favor? Because I put a lot of work into this podcast, And what really helps is if you follow the podcast, share it with somebody, and leave me a rating and review. I will be forever grateful. I'm going to stop talking and I'll catch you next week. Bye!